my honor to help moderate this panel on the interdisciplinary seminar series. We've got 4 very distinguished experts here who hopefully will provide us with a lot of useful and information. So I want to introduce one, and after I introduce each one of our panelists, they'll give a brief description or a brief presentation on their expertise and how big data ties in with climate change. So first up is Shaowen Wang. He's a professor of geography and geographic information science, computer science, library and information science, and urban and regional planning. Here's just a show off with all those degrees. At the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, which I actually know some people from up there. He's also the founding director of the Cyber GIS Center and Advanced Digital and Spatial Studies. Everybody, Shaowen Wang.
Thank you very much, George. I was supposed to introduce my slides. Well, thanks for coming during lunch hour, and thanks for the 19th question, and it's an honor to be on this panel. Particularly a pleasure to be with the panelists I know for quite a while. As colleagues and friends, all 3 panelists, it's a pleasure. And I will talk a little bit about this big data, and in particular related to climate science. Big data now is a reality. It was argued to be the 4th paradigm by a number of scientists and computer scientists. And it's a reality to stay with us, and the bad news is coming too fast. It's in the data flood. And basically, we now are facing tremendous challenges as more existing tools. They're using huge, but they're not having the right capacity to deal with the big data. But from the opportunity side, as you might recall, this was the web browser creation that happened when internet started booming. And we believe, for those of us who are trying to tackle the big data challenges, we were at that time again for very demanding innovation cost. Just as this web browser was created to share information for those scientists conducting simulations, getting their data out, that got the opportunity of developing this web browser as a national center for security applications. And this is the organization I'm affiliated with. And at UIUC primarily funded by NSF. And it was a place where Mosaic web browser was developed. Who was aware of Mosaic? Wonderful. This was always used by the CSC to argue to NSF if we invest more, we'll deliver more. Trillions of dollars impact on society from basic research and technology. Another argument I'm going to make is that geospatial big data are special through common language of geospatial data characteristics were about Earth measurements. Earth measurements are a lot of times uncertain and not accurate. A lot of times, some measurements for some kind of problems are purposed for different purposes. We really need to be careful, especially in the context of climate science. For instance, surface measurements for Earth might not be applicable for climate science simulations or different kinds of reasons. We'll go into conversations like that. So the variety of geospatial big data, they are very exciting. There are so many different kinds for different applications, but they're also special. You need special care in order to make such sense. There are so many different types of geospatial data. You are all geospatial data collectors, as you might have recognized, through your mobile phones. And there are sensors, there are drones, remote sensing satellites. So geospatial data is everywhere around us. And the climate has complex systems but so much informed by geospatial data and continue to be so in the future, particularly from the impact of climate change point of view for independent populations in the future. Now, talk a little bit about what we do at Illinois related to what you are considering here and you are moving into the future. We, as George mentioned, have had this sovereignty as a center. Sovereignty, as in a simple term, is the new generation geographic information systems and science in the context of big data. Through leveraging big compute, one thing I want to highlight is a lot of folks got excited about big data challenges and opportunities, but not so much about the big compute, which is the other side of the coin of big data. Without big compute support, we cannot go too far into big data for knowledge discovery. So CyberGIS is to leverage that big compute for fostering big collaboration for problems like climate science. They're oftentimes complex. We cannot deal with from a single domain perspective. So we're addressing complex problems in the development and innovation of the new generation geographic systems we can refer to CyberGIS. There are multiple other ways to refer to this new innovation. But the whole idea is that we have tremendous opportunities as business from the domain for driving the discovery and innovation, but we also see very fast advances of different technologies. And the geospatial realm we have in the middle tie this together through critical spatial thinking for guiding the innovation of technology, but for digital transformation across very broad spectrum to enable innovation and discovery. Of course, again, a number of domains. And all of the domains that I have here are closely related to climate systems. So I want to share with you a personal story. This is a recent study published on Proceedings of National Standard Science part of. So about 7-8 years ago, a bunch of crop scientists and biologists came to me and said, Shaowen, I have stacks of CDs for you, and we want to analyze such data. Data are crop yields data, weather data, solar radiation, ozone data, soil data, and they want to understand how ozone, not only at the laboratory scale, but also across multi-scale environment, have impact on crop yield in the United States. In the literature, this was not comprehensively assessed. But the bad news is that they use stacks of CDs and URLs. We have to synthesize all this data together for multiple decades. So that pushed me to develop some capabilities I was talking about to deal with geospatial data using supercomputing high-performance data to get to this kind of discovery. And my argument would have to be more. There are a lot more geospatial questions counting on our capabilities to wrestle with geospatial data. And that is going to be very exciting for our knowledge discovery. So the CyberGIS Center was put together by the contributions of this university. As you can tell, this like climate science is very user and transdisciplinary. The units that you are using contribute financial resources to establish CyberGIS could go a parallel here to our climate science center, which is moving in a similar direction. And I'm glad to see this crowd over here.
Next up will be Alan Sill, who is the Interim Senior Director and the Senior Scientist at the High Performance Computing Center here at Texas Tech, where he also holds positions as the Site Director for the U.S. National Science Foundation, Cloud and Autonomic Computing Industry University Cooperative Research Center, and he's also an adjunct professor of physics. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Alan Sill.
How many in the room are HPCC users here at Texas Tech? A lot of you. So you will forgive me that I have not culled my slides from many talks down into the slides because I've been busy getting your But I will do a few things by browsing the website. If someone can do that in a web browser here. So there's a long list of titles there. Let me just sort of shorten them for you. I'm actually an active particle physics researcher here at Texas Tech, which helped start the particle physics group here with Professor Wicklands in 1992. We went on to find the top quark and continued to find the Higgs boson. Maybe you've heard of the Higgs boson. Pretty proud of that work. In the process of doing that, I found myself tangling with folks at this location. You'll find that I have one obvious limitation. I cannot type and talk at the same time. I can only do one thing at a time, which is why I'm busy getting the cluster up. I ran across these folks that were running something called a high-performance computing center. I said, that sounded interesting. And this was about 1997. After we found the top, and we, in the process, learned to use cluster computing in a way that hadn't been used before. Let me tell you how that went. We were busy using up the Amdahl and the fax clusters and the IBM AX workstations we had. How many people recognize any of those things? Okay. And along came a friend of mine and said, "You built a Linux cluster." I said, "What did you do that for?" He said, "No, trust me, it would be good." And now, years later, the vast majority of the world's computing gets delivered in this way. And then the cluster is very similar to that. But it took us a while to clue in. We built first 100 or so cores. Remember those days? A core was a computer. There was a one computer and one core, one computer. You didn't even use the word core, you called it CPU. And then we built a couple hundred of them. We thought this was pretty good. And one day we built 1,000 of them. Now, at the time, Beowulf clusters were a rarity, a kind of an oddity in research labs in the 90s. And all of a sudden, we put lots of machines in one place and have them do things. And they were way cheaper, way cheaper. Well, along the way, Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web and stuff like that. This just sort of came along to the right. Suddenly, we found ourselves in a world where people all over the world wanted to collaborate on cluster computing. And we had built one of the biggest ones ever in existence. It was called the unimaginatively the Collider Detector of Fermilab is the name of the detector collisions with Fermilab. So the Collider Detector of Fermilab had the unoriginal name of the CDF analysis facility, CAF. And all of a sudden, people wanted to build these things all over the world. Caffeine jokes were popular then because Java was in vogue, and so we called it the decaf. And I got put in charge of telling people how to duplicate this big cluster all over the world. The first example I'm aware of large-scale cluster computing being used uniformly throughout the world for one task. So I had a web page. Remember the web? Invented that. Really did, it wasn't outlaw. And he's done other good things in this context. There was a web page said, here's how we did it. Do exactly this. If you do exactly this and you have problems, here's my email address. If you don't do exactly this, have a nice day. And people all over the world, we found this helped us solve a problem, a science problem, which was how to get lots of computing on one problem. We didn't have enough money or resources to build bigger clusters, but we found people would willingly build these things all over the world so they could have their pictures taken with the beacon in front of them. And then they would contribute them to our science task. We said, this is great stuff. We've got to do more of this. So we made more of these web pages. And that became something called the Grid. Carl Kesselman and Ian Foster and others at Argonne, Chicago, started going around giving some theoretical talks about this thing called the Grid, utility computing. You might plug into the wall, you just have a grid. It was a spectacular success and spectacular failure at the same time. Great concept. I'll tell you why that was a failure. But it really worked. So they added a theoretical construct on this thing we were doing. We reacted like this. We said, we're already doing that. They said, yes, but. And so we had a conversation like that for 2 or 3 years. Then we realized they were right. If we could do things the same way for multiple fields of science, just as we've done for our field, and serve multiple needs at once, we could have a fantastic thing. And so we went from building clusters like this to this at the same time. To this, with the science grid, and its equivalents all over the world. This was great computing. This was essentially large-scale collaborative cluster computing for multiple fields of science at once. Same tools, multiple fields of science, right? Did I get it right? Shaowen helped with this. Okay, so this was cool, and it actually still is cool, and it still works. Why did I call it a failure? Well, see, we were really concerned about a few things. We were building the world's most powerful computer clusters, and we were tying them together. It's a whole paragraph about Paragrid and Exceed, and we'll get to it. But this was basically the idea: collaborative cluster computing for multiple sets. We didn't really want these things being used for like selling pharmaceuticals or sending these band emails. So we really locked them down. You had to get an individual X519 certificate. You know, when you log on your bank and the little icon turns green, lock. That level of authentication for every single scientist. We built an organization that could get you that level of certificate wherever you are in the world, now it's called the Interoperable Global Trust Foundation. So anywhere in the world, if you're a scientist, you get one of these certificates. And then, remember I talked to you about Exceed and Paragrid? Well, these became the supercomputer equivalents of this. It was a little rough start where they didn't really want to do sort of cowboys and this sort of thing. We beat up on them for a while until they did this fantastic, wonderful project called Exceed. And you need to know about our local cluster. I won't talk too long. You need to know about Open Science Grid, and you need to know about Exceed to do your work. Okay? If you don't know about any of those things, you need to learn about them because they're resources for you. And Shaowen has helped create some of these, and they are fantastic. They are collaborative, shared, multi-science facilities at the highest scale of computing. So what Open Science Group did for sort of moderate scale clusters, Exceed does on a worldwide basis for supercomputers. And your climate modeling comes from these resources. Now, where do we fit into this stuff? We have a cluster just the other side of this wall. We've got maybe about 10,000 cores in that room. We've got a couple thousand cores at a couple different other locations. And when we do that, I do that as very clearly and deliberately a stepping stone in this architecture of computing. From your desktop up to the scale of computing. We like to be the place where you go in and ask a question, and no matter what the scale of the computing is, we can help you with it. Right? And I always tell people, someone had heard everybody say it yesterday. In IT, I'm now an employee of the IT division, but it's still part of the business. We get two kinds of people. We get the angry ones, and we get the apologetic ones. And the angry ones, it almost always has something to do with email. And we have another whole number, 742 help. You can call that number, they will help you. It's very similar to our number. The last digit is different, but it's a different number, and so that takes care of the angry business. We get the apologetic business. So a lot of people come in the door and say, I'm sorry, I'm trying to comply with this. We start success. I'm sorry. So I call those the apologetic. Don't be apologetic. Don't scale your question to what you think we can provide. We've been at this a while. We know talented people like the people in this room all over the world. Tell us what you're trying to do. We'll try to get you connected to the right scale of computing, and that's what I would say.
Thank you, Dr. Sill. So when Skynet takes over and my new pickup truck tries to kill me, I'm going to come and blame you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Next up, and please, I hope I asked him before, so I hope I won't butcher his name. Guofeng Cao, excuse me.
Yeah.
They told you I would. He's an assistant professor in the Department of Geosciences here at Texas Tech. He's worked in the Cyber Infrastructure and Geospatial Information Laboratory, and his research involved geographic information science, and the application of formal, visual, and geospatial techniques. Dr. Chow. Man, look for your deals. I just minimize them all.
The cyber infrastructure, the laboratory of cyber infrastructure for graphical science actually in Shaowen's lab. I worked with Dr. Wang for 2 years. And so Anna and Shaowen mentioned providing some, from different angles, providing some people view and high profile. Sometimes doing here is actually providing some specific examples of projects that work. What kind of big data just choosing big data related project I have here. And we have a geospatial similar here and this project will be back here. So the first type of the data. So the first type of data I'm kind of talking about is location-based social media, and so we alluded to now it's on everything to mobile and post internet access to physical computer. We expose your lots of information, including your location information, and many others, right? Like the name and your mood, your health status, and what activity you're conducting, and what the flow is going to be taking, and including that McDonald's compared to some other great restaurants. Probably going to be including some of your socioeconomic status or health status. Right? And then most importantly, we are including the location. So we can actually get some ideas or get some samples of what going on in society, right? And for some work I'm done, part of work I'm done doing here is I used one couple of years ago, and I knew about that. So the basic one, the most basic one that I mentioned is the location can be code. Collecting the information from millions of social media users is a very basic one we can track the people's numbers. So we take here today and tomorrow we take that in Dallas. So we can basically say, oh, there's one movement actually from here to Dallas. Right? And then we're collecting all the data real timely, right? So, and then we kind of the good thing about this sort of data is also not the good thing that the individual level. So we can track it down to the data to the individual level. So we kind of so we can aggregate them, looking at that social movement of human mobility skills. Right? So the first, on the right hand side, just to give you an example, is that the people moving up from the Los Angeles airport to where during the 1 week time windows where they hanging out, right? And this one is still the same location, still the same time window, but it's just looking from the neighborhood level to the continent level, right? So it's a very small neighborhood level, and then going to the whole North American area where the people landed in LAX, where we ended up in a couple of days, right? And at the back end, of course, is lots of computation going on here to streamline the data, to analyze the data, and then utilize that. There's lots of computing technology going on in the back end. So I'll just show you some screenshots of what I use. So a good thing that this is basic movement. Right? A good thing that I learned earlier, there's lots of information about when you post material. Right? You post your status about how healthy you are and socioeconomic status related. You can mine it using some text mining thing to make a best guess about this information. Right? So you can see there's some back end, there's some density maps. This density map actually is flu related to be first on the flu activity because you create like the medicine you were using or like some flu related symptoms, like running nose or cough, something like that. We can actually tracked your town that you already have to go, right? In the back end, the red VR basically the more data usage, higher towns that you know exactly right? And when you're combining the flow with the traffic flow, and then you're gonna build out some public house practitioners out some ideas where there's lots of person moving from the high dense area to the green area, public green area, where there's lots of person carry around the virus moving to the town. Right? And then also based upon this data, we also actually do the climate science panel. So we also investigating how the weather, how the environmental change, what different kind of weather actually going to be affecting this the flow density. Getting what kind of weather actually be more positively impact or increasing the flow activity or decreasing the flow activity. We combining this that's a terminology to describe it. So terminology combining basically getting the data. If you work in the house area, you know the data is very hard to get, very difficult. So we're in the future by analyzing this online data, providing some alternative data source. Based upon this data, we can connect it in the climate science environment to see the interactions between the environment and so this is a flu case. Another case I'm doing is tracking the Ebola case. Ebola of 2014. We just track the keyword related from text mining thing, and you can see the temporary cases align pretty well with the Ebola deaths. Three cases, 3 or 2 cases of Ebola. And this is a temporal one, and this is one. This one, I think. Number 13 is the one in Dallas, the first case that we got, and then you're going to spread it to the you follow the party. So, yeah, these are some applications that we can use for using this. And then another question you might need to ask is that how is it presented? Like we're using the social media data to do the analysis, but the truth is that the thing that how this sort of data is reflecting the reality. How we capture the real demographic health information. One I'm doing, we are doing is actually, we're using the beyond the name, all the textual related to your name and your the post that have been posted. You can figure out what's roughly can guess what is the reads going to be, what the reads or identity or the political. You are a Democrat or Republican. These sort of social economic status based upon your post. This one is actually was used for the Chicago case. Actually, mining this map actually for different race and ethnic groups. The red one for the white person, the diagnosis for the people, and then the green one that is for the black population, and then there's the Asian population. I think that if you get familiar with Chicago, it's roughly match well with the population. I mean, that one is getting from the age, and that one is getting from the thing. And another case, we try to investigating the buyers, potential buyers of the data actually for the presidential campaign, because we're tracking one person for a very long period of time, we can probably get an idea of what your political tendency is, red or low. And we worked on the Ohio state, the state of Ohio, and we collecting like the 2012, year of 2012 campaign, because that year is the first year that the data has been, data has been evaluated. So then analyzing the red and blue, and the red one is all the home locations of the red to the blue, the blue one is red. We compare it to a reality because we already know the results. And then we combine it based upon the county data. And we did the right-hand side one is actually the real voting result. Right hand is actually what we get this time. You can see the blue is actually more, little bit more open than blue because right? Are the Democrats. Left left one to treat more in yeah, there's some ongoing work beginning the location-based and there's in the geospatial I'm a GIS guy. So we did some observations in traditional data, like measurements, ecological measurements, or different kind of motion, music products, something like that. But when this is the typical big data. If you look at the big data, and we get it a lot of data every day. But the thing that as a researcher, if you sit down in a task and dealing with one particular problem, you will think the data, there's lots of data that is available, but the data is not very well consistent with each other. Like it's pretty continuous. Probably lots of missing data and probably different kind of fields of how to combine them. Right? Just providing you some very quick examples of you can be sort of the figuring of this continuous data. One is that we're using like remote sensing data and monitoring sensing data, including the measure the PM particular measure for 2.5. This is actually providing a very high spatial resolution, and the way it is that we cover those goals using the modest data, different kind of the modest data and the Landsat data, and also the ground truth monitoring. And another one I want to tell you very briefly talk to you about is that the Oglala order. For these cases, we have been collecting data for more than 30 years. Lots of the wells spreading around in this area. I mean, for each well, the data is actually pretty massive. Sometimes we have a lot of data, sometimes probably not. Like how we combine this data spatially and to making a map that's complete. Right? Yeah, that's basically the work that I do related to big data. We also do some computation and uncertainty of the data. Okay, I'll probably be always with my time.
Dr. Shaw, I think I can personally relate to the flu research. Every time I get on the plane, I get sitting next to the guy and I got the flu. So I can drink a gallon of orange juice and thermal. It doesn't matter. Our final panelist is Patricial Solis. She is a senior research associate and research development team, a research associate professor of geography, and she is the adjunct associate professor for the Climate Science Center here at Texas Tech. Her research involves geographic technologies, climate change, good place for you right here, sustainable development, water resources, and geography as a discipline for higher education. Ladies and gentlemen,
I am actually not a big data scientist, but perhaps this is confirmation of how important big data has become, that even non-data scientists have to recognize the idea of big data. And I think it has become more and more a revolution, and not just a technological revolution, but a social revolution. It's advancing without me. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that part of it, and I'm going to be very brief because I want to be plenty of time for talking. But it's a social revolution in the sense of our relation to each other, and it's sort of one of the iterative process where it is created by the social revolution, but also contributes to some revolutionary things in our society to think about big data. So I wanted to talk about some of our responsibilities and opportunities related to that. And I'm inspired by a group of students. We're all wearing Texas Tech shirts. In Panama, I did a tech camp for high school kids. In Panama, there are 10 U.S. students, 30 Panamanian students there. And we discovered this irony in our work that we were traveling all over the place, including air travel, and all sorts of things that contributed to climate emissions, yet you were studying geographic spatial technologies for climate change. And this was something that we needed to somehow reconcile and reckon with, that irony. And so we ended up planting trees on the campus of the university there as a way to sort of acknowledge that part. Now, I am happy that in the realm of big data, there are people thinking about this as well. As we know, these big data just doesn't exist somewhere in some cloud, nowhere. There really are places on Earth that have a footprint of places like this. They use a lot of water, they use a lot of energy. Fortunately, there are some bright minds looking at these spaces and the where and the what and the how to try to make this a more green revolution. I just want to bring that point up so that we're thinking about this as well. There's another impact to what we're talking about that we need to be thinking about and reckoning with in terms of the physical climate and environment. The other point that I want to make is about the who and the where. And who are these data creators in this social revolution? And increasingly, we see a lot of them being citizen scientists, volunteers, data creators, not just us as passive creators with our cell phones, but really purposefully. And can we think about this source of the data in a purposeful way, and why are we creating these things? Recently, Texas Tech was awarded $1 million from the U.S. Agency for International Development to lead a consortium of universities to do this, to look at this, and youth mapping. This is the name of our program, Youth Mappers. We have a few of us here at Texas Tech involved in that. I'm the PI, the other universities, West Virginia University and Washington University. So we've been working for a little more than a year on purposefully engaging young people to create spatial data through OpenStreetMap. I think it's really important to also think about big data in the open environment. That's sort of part of the ethic of it. And basically working with USAID to create data where there is no spatial data in places of the world that it's definitely needed and can be used. This is just, I want to show you a few shots of the before and after. So perhaps it does enter in the realm of big. This is Kathmandu, Nepal, before the earthquake, and after, when we had students who created the spatial data that was actually used in the efforts, humanitarian response after that earthquake last year. You can see quite a difference. This is in Bangladesh. There's a lot of detail. I put this one out because not only is it just the location data, but the attribute data. We work with university students there to add to those spatial features more information about this is not just a building, this is a school, this is a, whatever it is. And then this is one of the latest projects that we're still working on in Mozambique, which is with the President's Malaria Initiative and the Peace Corps. And you can see, we just call them Mapathon, which is when we get everybody together and create this big data. We had in that one evening more than 26,000 features put on the map, and they will be used in a plan for the spray campaign against malaria in select number of communities there. So that leads me to my final point about this idea about big data. I think that there's this holy grail that we have that somehow big data leads to big decisions. Data to decisions sort of trajectory that we would all like to see. It's not really a straightforward process. And one of the things that we think a lot about is, what is this for? And in the end, what kind of a difference do we want to make? And I just encourage you to think about that.
Thank you, Dr. Solis. All right, at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to ask each one of our panelists to kind of bring their chairs out here out front where they can face you. And then we're just going to open it up to the audience for questions. Any question you might have, don't shout them out all at once. We'll give everybody your time. But any question you might have for any one of our panelists, please feel free to ask whatever whatever might be on your mind. So anybody got a question? We'll start with this gentleman right here.
Yes, and I think mine's probably the most elementary, so it's a good place to start, and that is, you hear about big data, but how would you all define it? A couple aspects of my question is the difference between big data and little data, are those a distinction with big data and little data, or big data and really no data? And is it a cutoff point quantitatively? At some point, that this number is big and it's not, it's little, or is it a qualitative difference? And in some ways, it isn't everything big data, almost like a fractal dimension. You open it up and there's something inside that's complex, just as complex as the water. So that's a big question, but really the question is what is big data?
I'll take a crack at that. First, I'll give you my short definition that I really love from a friend of mine. It says big data is everything that we used to throw away. Now, scientists tend to think they know about data. How many of you are in the business field? Oh, that's a failure. How many of you are active scientists working with lots of data? You probably think like I do, that we know data. Business folks really know Excel. It is not true. A couple of years ago, in our cloud center, we were responsible for big data symposium. We do it once a year. All scholars. And here's what I found out. The average first-year graduate student in business can open their laptop and hit the little blue button and bring up the computer and do data analysis in the middle of their talk for a lecture. Data science has moved way beyond the traditional sciences. I think that was sort of the message we're hearing from the others here. So, in that sense, big data is everything you can throw away, all that machine information, all that, how much time you spend looking at the soup can in the aisle, that's all logged now. And people are trying to mine it primarily for economic value.
So we turn noise into information. Is that what's happening?
That might be I kind of like that. Yeah, I just put in a thermostat with 4 sensors in my house because it was very cold. We didn't do that before.
So let me take a step. I like what you said. In general, big data is a buzzword. It doesn't have a scientific definition. It's probably what your question is all about. It's evolved from technology communities. Categorize the data, digital transformation is going to accelerate beyond the speed we were considering. And it's getting to this situation where the speed of the data, the quantity of the velocity, the volume, the variety, the validity, value. People make up these terms, but I think from scientific point of view, is as I was alluded to, we're getting to the world that is very different from what we were used to be, which we had really tried hard to gather data. There's always design of measurements, right? People say sample. Now in a world, we've got too much to deal with. And the measurements are coming from all over the places for all kinds of different purposes. Clearly, they're above our head to understand what's going on. So I think it's probably not a very useful exercise trying to define what exactly it is. Once you figure it out, there will be some other plus term show up to tell you the situation will be. But it is very real. We're facing this very dramatic digital transformation, not only in science and technology, but also across society. And climate science is the perfect domain that cuts across science, technology, and society. And I see big, in a sense, it's a relative. It's bigger than what you could accomplish. It's bigger than what you could take advantage of. Therefore, it's leading to opportunities very substantial for innovation and for discovery. So it's bigger than what you could keep up with.
I like that last part, the overwhelmingness of it, and that's kind of how I see it as well. Is that it's big because it's bigger than what we can handle at the moment. It's pushing our ability to deal with it, and it strikes me that part of the transformation, I think the definition of big data keeps moving because, we never get to that point where we say data overload and we say information overload. But have we ever said knowledge overload? Are we overwhelmed by the knowledge? I wish we could get to this point, right? But it keeps moving, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. So.
That's why in the big data world, especially from the business world, people are getting passionate about machine learning, machine intelligence, because we have some hope that the things can help us get all out of this sort of very crazy situation. And that's a very significant movement.
And there's some definite limitations. If I could call your attention to a couple of perhaps defects. Some that will come to mind immediately when you think about the folks' privacy and security and all of the data being mined. We get to a sort of minority report world where you walk down the street and the advertising is doing the selfie. So there are issues of privacy and security in there. And so another note of caution is the whole approach maybe not very well academically founded. So thinking about any statisticians in the room? Statisticians hate the basic premise of big data. It's actually almost antithetical to the idea of statistics. Right? A properly designed experiment should be able to know its precision and accuracy for what it's trying to sample based on the criteria needed to understand that data set. The idea is not to analyze everything. The idea is to sample properly to get the right level of precision. So, statistics and big data in its purest forms are almost, sort of like I would say painters of the natural enemies of electricians. Paint the box. So there's sort of two different points of view, and it's worth contrasting your opinion.
So very quickly, there are related terms that we brought up some examples, the small data, large data, messy data, noisy data. So Solis is still, buzz. So what do you want for?
I think I like the discussion as it looks at whether or not data, just because you can collect it, is useful, right? And that's what that's Cam's getting at with respect to noise. As a biologist, I think about our brain and our eyes collect a lot of information that we don't use. It filters out what's important for us immediately. And so I guess I think for me, what Dr. Wang was saying is that when you look at data, what we don't know are some of the ways information interacts at a scale with which we can't perceive it because we're humans. We're inside the box trying to look out at what's going on. We need to be out of the box looking in to see how things are. And we can't get out of that sort of layer cake metaphor because we're part of the process. And so I think the advantage of big data is being able to step outside the box in ways we don't understand and look at those patterns. But for me, just being able to collect a lot of data and figuring out what ads are going to be sent at me, I think is a waste of our time, to be honest. I think it's the interaction of information dealing with the questions that we can't solve yet because we don't know how things really interact. But I think is really where the big data is going to have the biggest impact.
So a quick comment on that is so far you see, at least from scientific research point of view, you see a lot of studies showing work that validate people's understanding. So, hey, this is consistent with what we thought was going to happen, from analyzing lots of data. What's not yet happening, but the more exciting is big data help us address new questions, brand new questions we never thought about. If we have all these different measurements and they all come without too much cost, as I before, that kind of research is, in my own opinion, more exciting. And I think that's going to be really much bigger potential than used to be conceived.
Right, that's the importance of experimental design, right? The joke is the data scientist, is a statistician. So that's spread over the world now. We're training data scientists in hopefully new ways. So, but I think it's really important for those fields that have had long experience with analyzing lots of data to bring not only their computational methods, but their insights from experimental design. If you can train people to design the right thing, in particle physics, we get trillions of interactions per second happening in our colliders. We throw the vast majority of the way in the right people. Ones that are interesting, really get us all prizes and stuff. I was joking, we try to put alerts on our cell phones for this. You worry about throwing the wrong things in, right? You throw away the graviton and the filters. So experimental design is a crucial piece of most fields, and it's what allows you to take this tremendous onslaught of data and turning it into in fields of GIS, this is especially clearly have the ability to generate enormous amounts of information. One thing that is interesting, can you, how the mind says use a drone to fly over, let's say, space, the populations of cows and flying ones with temperature profiles that look back in our temperature. And so again, experimental design is a key piece of this work. And teaching people to think like the scientists or think like scientists using data, I think it's something that is different.
So the example I showed you, the plant biologists, they did not have the geospatial data of that of variety and longitudinal to understand the economic impact. They would not be asking that question in terms of ozone impact. They would stay at the level. They would have no clue to go to the real world level to address that question. So that kind of ability to pose new questions is very exciting.
And then that tools that
They're trying to innovation. People shift to that kind of data for new insights.
That was like working with biologists. That is amazing capacity to ability to take your most sophisticated tools that took years to develop, right? And you show it to them and they say, "Oh, that's interesting. You can show me all the proteins with that feature. Oh, please show me all the compounds that have a feature that would fit would match combined with that." It's another 10 years of work. Like that. So,
yes, sir. Hey, I have a question regarding the status of the big data and in relation to human behavior prediction. Because we all know that human is made of any type of system. So let's say that, for example, for scaling up the business, we have marketing, type of business. So, but this type of marketing, of course, depends on the behavior and the prediction of the behavior of humans. So, it to grow. So, I was wondering about the status that the relation between the big data and the machine learning we have right now, in regard to the prediction of the human behavior, there's human factors, I think it's a huge role in any type of system. Like if you have different habits that could be a huge amount of data.
I think you just described the part of the foundation series. I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Well, I can say something about that. So concerning human behavior, I think big data, just in our research, give us like some trends about what's going to happen. So when we study, like we have large data sets about the nation concerning, for example, college completion and STEM degree choice. So when we have small data, if I go to like large school district, well, to generalize findings or to get like a national trend is going to be difficult. To say why some people, okay, do not succeed in like developmental math in school, and then why they don't choose STEM degree. Who are those people who are interested in STEM? When I have a large data set, I can have like a clearer trend in analyzing that data and saying, okay, those are nationally based on like a large n size and thousands of variables. Those are the people who would go STEM. I think that's how large data can help in human behavior prediction.
Yeah, that's a very good example. In fact, this is a growing area. Particularly, I think industries are moving much faster, perhaps than academic folks. Well, Dr. Cao's work is related to this as well. Understanding disease spread and how people might move around at the same time. But online platforms, search engines, Alibaba, you might have heard of the online support for small business owners. We collect a lot of data, and they are working very hard to analyze what's going on. Now, there's a good news in terms of the academic communities want to catch up. They're getting into this kind of research in human behavior and decision making with regard to large complex status and dynamics. NSF has a program recently released studying connected communities, smart communities and connected communities. That might be related to the kind of policies we were talking about. Another National Science Foundation program related to this is the Big Data Hub program. Because the industry now is a serious owner of big data, right? A lot of interesting data academic folks want to look into the top-line data. What have that data? So the academic community have recognized this challenge. People even have stepped up and said, hey, the academic communities also should have our own infrastructure of big data for us to look into the data we need to make scientific progress. So this nationwide regional big data hubs are already for the first round award in place. Now the second round is to develop what is called big data spoke hub, spoke, going to different scientific communities and grand challenges. And I know, for instance, the smart connected communities, which is booming behavior influence phenomena at large scale. There are some interesting research performed there to big data hub spoke effort so that you could first, right, get access to the data in order to pose interesting questions. So the academic community, I think, catching up. They're to some degree disadvantaged in terms of data access and also collaborating with each other to work on similar data. It's not just the data. We discussing this yesterday. Behind the scenes, of course, enormous paradigm shift takes place in how we look at the computer. I want to focus on one aspect of that, which is that we've learned that more people in communities to set their own environments and control better. And techniques that have been developed over the years, including some of the breakthroughs of cluster and shared and parallel computing are now largely by cloud. That's the answer by the question that raised others. Rate of failure, they actually were a tremendous success. The bulk of scientific computing is still computing. But the bulk of computing in the world is moved on to other techniques. One of the things that we're discussing is our mutual interest in, you may notice that I actually run a cloud computing center too. It started 5 years ago, specifically to intersect with computing and learn and share these techniques. So what we want to do is, ideally combine the access to data with increasing flexibility tools. You yourself should be able to control your environment with some of these newer tools that give you complete control over what software is installed, what's available. Don't have to worry about what version you have installed in the cluster. Now there's a huge challenge. Funding, getting the funding into the patient, the right problem. Ourselves learning the techniques. In some cases, we've invented this whole field of large-scale computing. 10 years ago, only scientists did this. Now I can tell you, in fact, we're a minority of the world's computing. And we need to adapt and change that. So someone has done a very interesting project, combining multiple modalities of delivery as well as getting access to data. I have my own projects along those lines. There are others. And we're trying to see if we can't sort of align things like we did in the free computing to be able to look at scientific cloud computing. You yourself can control your environment and
Amazon will give you lots of computing. You guys are used to that.
I would like to add to that, because it's a brilliant trajectory. It's not just about the data, it's not just about the infrastructure, but it's also, I think, with respect to the human behavior, especially spatial behavior in particular, it's a theory about how we are as human beings. The social science part behind it, I think, has not kept up with all of these, innovations and technology. We still don't necessarily have new theories about how people do behave, how they behave at different scales. As an individual, you behave in different things in a group, because in a bigger group, and the scales at which people make decisions is often incongruent with the information and the data that they have to input those decisions, and their accountability as they get different scales. Something that Jenny and I are actually writing about. It's sort of that incongruence between the data for decisions at that scale, which is available to them, and the scale at which they make those decisions and are accountable. So I think our social theories, as one example, they are not really linking up with this evolution either. We have a long way to go. A way to get further is to do like what we're doing with the Climate Science Center and Shaowen is also doing, is having interdisciplinary groups, interdisciplinary groups to try to engage in conversation. I think it's critical for climate change in particular, because it's one of those very contentious questions socially as well. Trying to make those predictions, I think we're not finding wrong with that.
So simple volume is lots of data, lots of new computing techniques, lots of theories, and experimental design underlying, lots of investment, learning cooperation, and money. All fine. Yes, sir.
Yes, I just want to point it out about the uncertainty of data, because right now with this movement, everyone's catching data. Doesn't matter how. So, and when you see models, you can see right now in the web a lot of models about ASAP. But it's really scared model that shows the uncertainty of the model. It's really scared the model that shows the math behind and shows how that was created. So it's in GIS, for example, we can see a really good map with colors in red, talking about climate, for example. But what about the data? How it was collected? What is the uncertainty of the data that we include there? So I think that it's just like we are advancing really fast on that, but we need to be careful about how we create models and how we include the data. I think that in a lot of models and in a lot of work that you can see, people don't talk too much about AI. I think that math is totally important.
Can I say that? So I think I certainly, maybe I just started from a computer data point perspective. So we use the map all the time. So, but let's see, do example, the final matter becomes to be something. All we call it the reading and full number. Ideally, it's just the reading of this map is affected by so many uncontrollable factors, right? So ideally, you report a number and then you report sort of as something else, how we like it to be, right? But that's usually the scientific way to do so. Chemical chemical scientists or physical scientists really do that. You can measurement and report it like this. But when you come to computer data, come to the map, people seem to ignore this part, right? So you have let's see the land power data or this part, and this part is probably the glass. Right? And then you get in the data, probably you have 30 by 30 meters region, which is grassland. You can legally part of grassland. And then another person just taking the data and doesn't know where this grassland has been classified. It's on what account for every zone or how the data gets to this point. Final design model function will be data and release data and make it protected. And then the part is that how to access these sort of uncertainties and propagation will be some person actually working on that already, and people realize that one of early work and we need to be more like the promotion like how you have the data and then you describe where the data comes from, how many analyzers have been done on the data, and then you can somehow quantify that. And we do that, we do analysis on the data and uncertainty.
This is so very important for really come to what we said. But I think you are highlighting broader issue that is we generally refer to as this data driven science reproducibility. So there is data problems with the that's what done on a piece of data. But when the big data is all over the map, people now, scientists in general, are challenged significantly to understand how to even make sure a piece of science could be reproduced. Because data access, rules associated, theories are behind it. If you put all these pieces together, tailor to a specific study, it's very difficult for yet another scientist to understand how this process could be done. So in terms of the entire scientific enterprise, what I could tell is the foundation is shaky. That's why it's so exciting to be in this room, because we have the opportunity to rethink that foundation in this very dynamic digital evolution of technology we've seen in the past decade already. So I think that's perhaps sort of behind the message we're talking about uncertainty. People will see this is the fundamental shift have to be resolved.
Framing that maybe this we just touched on, which is very important, not just uncertainty, but the bias and the correctness. Actually, you said that is quite well recognized this is a problem. We probably should wrap up, but a problem that science has dealt with for a long time. And we deal with it by citation and reference, so we can understand the source of information and compensate for potential problems in the study that correctly know the citations. So citation for data and citation for algorithms for scientific methods, publishing code in citable ways, in referenceable ways, to credit and also tracks the software we use, data citation, data science, data publication. These are all emerging areas, and we're realizing that it's the least important, but probably actually far more important than citation.
So data publication is now increasingly available from more journals, and even some journals start publishing software associated with data. If you don't have the software working with the data, you might not be able to produce more data.
Right, so when you publish a study, you should be able to publish the data. Increasingly, people are requiring, some companies are requiring this. And we are working with post-completion, the research data repository here specifically for cycle data, not for scratch stuff before, but for that kind of archival data. And there are other tools and techniques that build us other research data alliance, for example, emerging to be very important parts of You had a quick question?
No, I would say we do have to wrap up because of other use for this class.
All right. I want to thank everybody for coming. A lot of information, very helpful. Let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Good luck, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Thomas.
No problem.